Welcome to the exam tips video for paper P4 relevant to the ACCA December 2015 exams. Let's just look at the key topics that are likely to be examined in the upcoming exam sitting. As always, P4 revolves around 5 core topics, namely investment appraisal, valuations, weighted average cost of capital, risk management, and Black-Scholes option pricing. And revising and putting all your energies and efforts into these areas should enable you to be prepared for about 80 to 90% of your exam. Now, to be more specific, in the upcoming sitting, you may want to put a bit more of energy and effort into the areas of valuations using free cash flows or the PE ratio method. Typically on questions like these, you are given the profit statements for the last few years, based on which you may be asked to do the free cash flows for a certain planning horizon, after which you may want to assume, you will have to assume the free cash flows to continue in perpetuity, discount these at the weighted average cost of capital or the cost of equity, depending on whether you're using the free cash flows to entity method or equity method, and get to the value of the company. Now, in doing this, it's very easy to tag along a little bit on risk-adjusted WACC, quite possibly giving you information about a proxy company whose betas could be given, whose cost of equity and other related details could be provided, and from there you may have to rework a suitable cost of capital or cost of equity for the entity that you're trying to value. Now, this may involve, depending on situation, depending on the nature of the question, this may involve you de-gearing the betas given there and re-gearing it to the level of the company we're trying to value, or alternatively it may also involve trying to work out the ungeared cost of equity, if at all the target company that we are trying to value is one where there is no debt. Now, how do you get to an ungeared cost of equity? You can either use the Modigliani-Miller proposition 2 formula or the capital asset pricing model by inserting beta asset into the into the capital asset pricing model. You could still get an ungeared cost of equity. So make sure you look at a few recent questions and prepare yourself with how you tackle a proxy company, including when you have a complex proxy, which is when you have a proxy company that's in the business that you want to be in and it also has some other activities. You need to extract the business that you're in or you're entering or you're interested in out of the complex proxy company. So looking at a few past exam questions over the last 3 to 4 years should give you a fair idea of how such questions can be tackled. Further, besides the kind of question that we've just discussed, in valuations, another possibility goes back to some of the questions the examiner has put up in 2012 and 13 with respect to methods of payment for an acquisition. So when you buy a company, cash is paid or bonds are issued or there's a share for share exchange, you could be asked to calculate and comment on the gains that are made when each payment method is made. That's another potential angle in a valuations question. And typically when you do a question like this, you may be required to value the bond if it is one of the payment methods. So you must know how to calculate the market value of bonds as well. Further, moving on to a slightly different topic, if at all you are asked to evaluate projects, given that the examiner has already done a foreign NPV in June 2015, not that it can be excluded, obviously it is still examinable in December 2015. However, that said, it is more likely that the examiner would put in a question on APV, adjusted present value, or a standard NPV with certain critical key adjustments, and tag that alongside that, probably tag a Black-Scholes option pricing question using real options. So the examiner could give you an option to expand, or an option to delay, or an option to abandon the project for which you've done the NPV, and then you need to apply Black-Scholes option pricing, value the option, add that to the value of the project, and find out what the total value of the project with the option would be. So that is very much a potential angle, particularly because real options have remained largely under-examined over the past couple of years. On risk management, it's become very difficult to identify what is likely to be examined. Is it interest or forex risk that will be tested? However, given the heavy focus on interest rate risk in the past 3 to 4 sittings, definitely it is expected that there would be at least half a question of currency risk management. Of late, there is a trend of mixing up currency and interest rate risk management. So you could have half of a question that is based on something straightforward on forex risk management, and then a little bit at the end on interest rates. So probably something on the lines of futures, options, money market hedges in currency, and maybe an interest rate swap question, which can easily fit in for about 6 to 8 marks at the end of a risk management question on currency risk. So please be prepared for that as well. In terms of other areas, you also need to make sure you are on top of the recent article by the examiner, by the examining team on CDO's collateralized debt obligations. Islamic finance is always a contemporary key area from which you can expect maybe 8 to 10 marks as a part of a larger question. So please be familiar with the different Islamic finance instruments, how they work, and with a bit of common sense you can actually answer any question that comes up wanting you to discuss a given Islamic finance instrument. Finally, also make sure you learn the easy bits such as MIRR, IRR, value at risk, which are all small little calculations which could just significantly enhance your score if you get these small bits right. Final comment from a exam technique point of view, critical for passing this exam is time management and being able to score your marks efficiently. And a large part of that is down to you putting down the wordy bits in a question, the discursive bits, whether it be the assumptions, the limitations, so on and so forth, first, because those are quick marks. The numbers do take a lot of time to actually yield results and give you marks. So it might be useful to take a couple of past exam questions, do it to time, 3 hours 15 minutes, do a full exam rather, to time, 3 hours 15 minutes, and see how well you're able to manage time, and also come up with the right order of attack. Do you want to do part 1 first, or part B first, or part C first? You obviously want to score marks efficiently, and you don't get to experience that until you sit down and do a mock. So I hope you'd all find some time between now and the exam to practice a couple of mocks, perfect your exam technique and your timing, and I hope your exam goes really, really well. Thank you for watching this video, and wish you all the very best for your exam.